Greetings YouTube. Today I'd like to talk about my latest acquisition. This is known as the Trucker's Friend. This is a combination tool designed to be an axe, a hammer, the nail pull, and a pry bar. And I guess in theory you could use this both as a pry bar and potentially as a bottle opener, I suppose. It's got a notch here for spike pulling, though that one is probably going to be more useful. The hammerhead is sloped, which I suppose will make it a little easier as far as you get broad swings with this tool, because it is rather large. You can see from the scale I've got next to it. It's not a small tool, and in comparison, comparing it to the trench axe from Cold Steel, they are very similar in overall length. Now the trench tool, to my mind, is a weapon which has potential to be used as a tool, whereas this is a tool that has the potential to be used as a weapon. I'm assuming this hole here is for hanging it or something. I can't figure out what else that might be used for. It says made in the USA, so I guess that's good. But frankly, it doesn't give me a lot of faith in our current manufacturing skills. And there's two reasons for that. Firstly, there's this object, which is laughingly referred to as a sheath. I wouldn't want to use this even if I were carrying this in a truck. I would not feel that this was going to offer me any kind of protection of this object at all. Just no. It's a piece of plastic vinyl and a clear piece of vinyl. It is useless. I would feel much more secure storing this in a truck if, for example, I just made a sheath out of cardboard and duct tape, just to keep it from contacting anything that I didn't want to get cut. The other problem with this is that when I got this tool this afternoon, and I got it today, September 6th, this edge was dull. And when I say dull, I mean dull. This was flat. I literally have butter knives in my drawer that had a better edge on it than this tool. I have remedied that. I now have a decent edge. It's not razor sharp, but I've taken off the grind lines that were on, most of the grind lines that were on there, because they were very obvious. You can see that slight sheen on there that I've put on it. And I've put a decent working axe edge on this tool. I did it with my angle grinder and a small hand stone, which I then used to take off the burrs. It's not a light tool, I got to tell you. It's a fairly hefty device. It weighs very similar to the trench axe, frankly. This may be ever so slightly heavy, but because of the way it's constructed, you've got a lot of weight right here, so you're going to be able to get a whole lot of impact with this. I mean, some severe impact. You are going to be able to hack things apart quite efficiently, and I quite like the fact that this handle's right here. I think it would help guide. If you were to hold this in your left hand and this in your right hand, you could guide this pry bar section right into something very tightly and with a lot of control, and then use the rest of the device as a lever to get the thing pried apart. You're going to have to be careful, of course, because there's an axe handle, axe blade right there. There is going to be some concern with prying things effectively, but you could also use this to do small pry jobs as well. I'm not a trucker, so I have no idea how useful this is, but I could see it being used to help take apart crates, pallets, maybe getting chocks out of the way. You know, there are things you could use this for on the road, and the weight of the object is not going to be a concern if you're driving a truck. You know, you don't care if you've got a 2.5 pound tool in your cab, all right, or your toolbox underneath the cab. As far as being used by your average everyday person, I can see this as maybe being useful in the trunk, again, if you've come up with a much better sheath option than the one that they've given you. And I could see it being used potentially as a fire rescue tool. Frankly, I think this has some usefulness as a fire rescue tool because it is so small. It could easily be slung on a belt and for short range transportation. I would not want to be carrying this if I were hiking or doing long-term camping. This is not the tool for that task. And I'm not really sure how often you're going to need a pry bar in the field. I think if you're going to need something to hammer things with, you're better off getting a decent hand axe with a flat back, or even a tomahawk with a hammerhead, which is going to be much lighter, and probably much lighter than the cold steel trench axe as well. But for short-term use in a truck or a trunk, or for maybe rappelling down into an area that you need to access for emergency situations, this is going to be something I think is useful. And for those who are asking, there is a two-handed version available in this tool. Obviously the handle's about twice as long as this one is. You can swing this one two-handed without a problem, however. This is from, let me get the name off of here, innovationfactory.com, and the overall build construction is great. I really am quite impressed by the sturdiness of the device, but the edge was dull as toast, and this is useless. So if anyone out there is interested in one of these things and you have a particular use for it, or you're preparing for the zombie apocalypse, this may be the tool that you want to have around.